Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second edition of Arketi's Live and 25. I am Dan Earl, Vice President at Arketi Group, and I'm joined today by my good friend Todd Craig, CMO at Deposco. Todd, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Earl. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having me. I tell you what, going second after Ron from Honeywell is a tough act to follow. So hope I can live up to those expectations. I've shared a stage with him, and that was a good first premiere version.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully the folks that are joining us today will feel the same. So, as you guys can tell, yes, we are completely live. Thus, we've already flubbed each other's names. But because of that, we want you guys to be interactive today. Look, if you have some questions along the way, if you have comments related to what we're saying, please throw them in the comment bar, and we will go ahead and address them in real time if we can, or we will definitely address them at the end of today's session. So, with that in mind, we're here to talk about marketing as all dials. And Todd, I will say I'm excited to talk about this because you and I go way back, having worked on projects off and on probably over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And I've enjoyed working with you because you market with a purpose. And thinking about what that means is that you're always using the data that you have to drive your execution strategies. You have that end goal in mind and you know what you're going for. So to kind of kick us off today, I'd love for you to kind of describe what goes into a fully mature data-driven marketing program and really how you're bringing some of this to Deposco to help drive some strategic decision making there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, at Deposco, we've been on a journey to really transform how we leverage marketing data. The end state that we're really chasing is it's a common supply chain term, really called sense and respond. So being able to see what's happening in real time and make real time adjustments, really about having marketing dials to see both leading and lagging indicators clearly, so you can make those decisions about where to accelerate investment, where to pull back. But it's kind of one of those things, Dan, that we've been talking about. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse. There's a journey to get there, and that's kind of I think where we're going to spend a lot of time today is like that's the end state of getting to dials. But there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. But a lot of boy, it pays off immensely at the end when you have this kind of data and you can make confident decisions sitting alongside your CEO, talking to a board, or maybe some of you out there are putting together your investment pitch decks.
Absolutely. So, as we're kind of thinking about metrics today, one of the things that always comes up, and we've heard a lot of people talking about, are vanity metrics. So, talk to me a little bit about these vanity metrics and what some of them are.
Yeah, clicks, reads, opens. Really, I said it earlier, kind of leading and lagging indicators. All data is good data. So I think it's all about how you frame it and who, it's like what we do in marketing. What persona are you talking to? Who are you talking to? And how do you frame that conversation? Those vanity metrics, though, at the end of the day, are leading indicators on how programs are working, how email program, how your landing pages, how, a trade show, whatever it is. At the end of the day, though, you want to be able to speak your CEO's language.
Mhm.
And your CEO or your founder or whoever it may be, once again, it might be a board you're talking to, they're going to be talking about revenue, pipeline and revenue. I try to stay away a lot of times from marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, whatever version of the demand waterfall you use. And if you just stick to pipeline and revenue at the end of the day with those groups, you've really earned your seat at the table. And you can talk about marketing as in terms of an investment,
Mhm.
right, versus a cost center. Because a lot of times in organizations, when you're scaling up, maybe you've taken in a round of investment, maybe whatever it is, that you're looked up as a cost center a lot of times. So you've got to reframe that conversation. And those dollars, your budget, it's not a budget, it's an investment. So talk about it like it's an investment, and make sure you are aligned, your KPIs are aligned with your CEOs. I always, you know, when I go in and talk to when I join an organization, and I'm a little old. Dan said we've kind of all grown up together. So when I go into an organization and we start talking about, hey, let's look at what success is. What Todd? What do you think marketing success is? Now there's pages underneath what I'm going to tell you, but I always say I want to be aligned with your success. CEOs, what are you reporting? That's my number, and that's what I have to support. So once again, vanity metrics, they'll tell you if you're headed down the right street. But at the end of the day, it's, really making sure you're aligned with the executives and the in your business.
So it's funny though we talk about that because some of those vanity metrics are generally the ones that carry the higher numbers. And we live in a world where the numbers speak volumes. So if we start thinking about some of the tactics that we have in a B2B market, in the B2B market, a lot of them transfer over to the B2C market as well. So I'm thinking, trade shows, webinars, a lot of these things where, and I'll say I started out my career in a lot of trade shows, going in and coming back and being like, yeah, we had X number of badge scans, and it was great. But at the same time, if we have these high numbers, we're kind of encouraged to go down these high number paths. But at the same time, having the higher numbers really aren't exactly what we want to go toward.
Yeah.
I think you and I would agree that 30 high quality leads probably beats 300 unqualified leads every day. So how can we still appeal to the fact of the numbers game, which people will still want to have in some regards, but bring it to a world that exists, or bring it to an environment that plays well within the B2B market space where generally less is more.
Yeah. It's I'm fresh off of coming from a trade show in Chicago, and I was talking to a partner. And when you're talking to partners, everybody goes around and says, "Hey, how's the show? How's it treating you?"
Mhm.
And they literally just did what you said. They said, "Well, we had two speaking opportunities, and you wouldn't believe the amount of leads we had." And I said, "Well, tell me about them." And then I said, "Are you just talking about scans from the speech? Scanning badges coming in?" They're like, "Yeah, this is going to be fantastic." That's a nightmare for me. I mean, that you've got to start somewhere, and building contact lists, building a database is all important. It's all where you are in your journey.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Dan, to your point, I want 30 solid leads that I can get 3 deals from, because you think about, and I think if I even go back, I think people would be almost scared. They would be worried about some of the numbers that we really are looking for. I tell you, I'm a baseball guy. And I'm like, we're hitting singles and doubles. We'll hit a home run every once in a while,
Mhm.
but singles win ball games. And if you think about it, once again, think about it, those 300 leads, or the example I gave, maybe there's 300 in there. They've got to go back, sift through all that stuff, set unrealistic expectations, where people think that 300 is the number, and they've got to have SDRs work it. Maybe they're qualifying, following up. It's just a lot of noise.
Mhm.
And I think that's where it's really important, where you've got to be honest with yourself. And that's having the math, right? That's having a forecast of what your marketing plan should deliver. Because at the end of the day, if I've got to deliver $30 million in pipeline, I know exactly how many deals those are. And right. And I can work back into the singles that I need to hit. Where do I need to hit those singles? And like I said, hopefully hit a few home runs there. But you couldn't be more right. But I think it's about setting expectations at the beginning. We've got to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times as marketers, we come into a situation where people are looking to accelerate things very quickly.
Mhm.
And if you start yourself in that numbers game, that high numbers game, you're going to be stuck there for a long while. So be realistic, set good expectations, have the math to back it up. Why singles and doubles win you those ball games? And that, I guarantee you, will help you grow your budget and thus your investment at the back end there.
So for everybody out there, marketing is just baseball. It's that simple. Singles and doubles will get you the wins.
Season
Uh,
cake here quick enough. That's here. I'm sorry. That's here.
I was gonna say we're basically there.
Here, yeah.
So obviously, as we get down in some of these deeper metrics, I think one of the areas that a lot of companies and a lot of marketing teams really struggle with is attribution. And I mean, this is something that is especially prevalent in the B2B marketplace. Look, we're not closing deals overnight. People are not going through, first touch to opportunity to close within a week. I mean, these things take months, they take time, they take a lot of touches along the way. So, with the fact that we have a world where we're talking about first touch, last touch, is it marketing sourced? Is it marketing influenced? How have you integrated data from platforms like your Salesforce, like your HubSpot, demand based, Google Analytics, all these other tools that contribute to all these touch points to build really a complete picture for the customer journey, and what are some of the lessons that we can learn as we're trying to create these marketing plans that or marketing data dashboards
Yeah.
that speak to the board.
Yeah, I think it's really a maturity process, right? Because it's a growth process that you've got to go through a lot of times. A lot of times, when you're starting out, that first touch attribution is great. Then you go to first touch and last touch, and then when I think we're all trying to get to full path attribution, where we understand every touch point in the marketing journey. I've talked about it with you guys several times before in the past. With we have been able to integrate our HubSpot demand base, Salesforce, a lot of other intent data streams, things like that, to get a 360-degree view of the customer. And we see that our customers are in market 84 days before they even reach out to us and like request a demo. They are doing their research, and they are really, it's kind of like if you're in a car lot, right? You're on a car lot, you're looking in the car, and what's the first thing that happens? Some excited guy runs out or gal runs out and one says, "Hey, let me get you a test drive." You're like, "No, I just want to look. I just want to look. I promise you, I'm going to let you know when I'm ready to take it for a test drive." That's how a lot of B2B buyers are,
Mhm.
right? And our data says 84 days, but we're able to see then those 84 days. We're able to see what activities are contributing to either during that 84 days. We want one of two things to happen, right? Pull the deal forward, like get them to engage with us quicker
Mhm.
in their research phase. Maybe they found the right one, the obvious choice, and we can accelerate that. Or I want them to be the first person they call when they feel like they've gone through their research phase.
Mhm.
So it's understanding all those data points. So hopefully we can shorten that 84 days,
Mhm.
but also once again make sure we're the obvious choice. You've also, as you grow as a company, right? If everybody in the organization and the go-to-market function is doing their job right, from partners, alliances,
Mhm.
sales, a lot of AEs are required to drive a part of their pipeline. Marketing, it could be product-led initiatives, customers, whatever it is. We all play a hand in pipeline and attribution. And I know marketing, sometimes we get very defensive. No, that's our lead, that's our deal, things like that. Actually, at the end of the day, I want to see an opportunity that is touched by several people, because
Mhm.
that means my brand awareness, that means our reach has just increased, tenfold, except for just a marketing campaign or something that we're running in there. So it's almost good to get to this complexity and challenge, but you got to have the data. You've got to understand, once again, what people are doing before they reach out to you, and definitely when they're engaged with you on whatever property you own or anything like that.
Mhm. So you mentioned that 84 days, and I think that's a really awesome example because you've basically been able to delineate your buyer journey down to a set time frame. So, tell me a little bit about how you were able to do this and really how this data backed forecasting has helped shape your planning. Because obviously, we're all in the forecasting, as marketers, we report to folks that want to hear about the forecast. We all have KPIs to hit. We all have organizational goals to hit. So how are you able to get to this point, and what would maybe be some of the recommendations you'd give to the listening audience today on that?
Yeah, it's like supply chain. It's a good demand plan and a good forecast, right? It's understanding what pipeline and what revenue you need to drive. Not only what you need to drive, like as a total holistic number for the year, but when do you need it? There's seasonality to every business, right? So when do you need to ramp up? Back to the dials analogy.
Mhm.
When are your people in market? Supply chain space, right? A lot of, if you look at the retail industry goes dark October, November, December. What's the first thing that happens in January? NRF, you know, National Retail Federation trade show. There's a buying season for that. So I need to understand that at that point, my historical data tells me that we do best with retailers in Q1 and Q2,
Mhm.
because they're going to make their technology decisions before they get to Q3 and Q4, because it's peak season, it's busy season. They're worried about selling, not implementing software.
Mhm.
So how do I then align all my retail programs when they're actively buying? What retail pipeline do I need to drive at that point to drive more retail ARR at that point? So you've got to understand, right, buying patterns. You've got to understand all of this stuff to really put together that plan. Because like I said, it's important to know what you need to get, but
Mhm.
when do you need to get it? And when do you need to have resources aligned to get out in front of all these things? So you make plan or exceed plan at the end of the year.
So, I mean, dare I say, Todd, are we turning marketing from a cost center to a revenue driver and a value creator?
And you have to these days. And that's a journey in itself too. The maturation of your company. You want to, in those early stages, just get to a point where you're probably spending $3 to $5 to generate $1 in $3 to $5 in marketing to generate $1 in ROI.
Mhm.
When if you've got a good forecast, if you've got good data, I can remember those days, right? As once again, you're scaling that company and growing it, that you hit that 1 to 1. And it's
Mhm.
like, finally, 1 to 1 for every dollar, we're getting a dollar in, and a dollar goes in, dollar comes out.
Yeah.
And then the game changes. The game changes at every level. Now, can I get a dollar in and get $5 out? But that's understanding, right? That goes back to the dials analogy. You've got to understand that data to understand what's working. I think there was an Insight Partners study that just came out that said 70% of B2B pipeline is from 4 channels. So do you know what 4 channels for you are working? And if your CEO came in, or somebody came in, your CFO came in and said, "Hey, we found an extra $100,000 in the corner. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to invest it?" Once again, talk about investing it, not spending it. You're investing it, to get that ROI, that return, that multiplier. And we've all been in situations too where things have changed. The inverse of that. If they come in and say, "Hey, you've got to cut 100,000, but I still need to meet you to meet your pipeline number. What dials are you turning at that point?" Of those four main channels, we'll say you may have 5 or 6 really,
Mhm.
but which one are you going to shut down? Which one are you going to taper off a little bit? And then, at the beginning phase, when you're testing these things,
Mhm.
usually we don't just pour everything all in. Do you have that dial set and the data set to understand when you're testing something out, that you can start, when you see it working, can start slowly tweaking the dial up to
Mhm.
make sure, once again, go from that 1 to 1 investment to that 5 to 1 output.
It's funny. It basically sounds like a lot of what some of us are probably already doing for those that are doing a lot of, paid advertising out there. I mean, how many of these paid marketing channels will want you to create 5, 6, 7 ads so that it can sit there and go, okay, these are the underperforming ones. We're going to ratchet up these others.
Yeah.
It's basically taking that same concept really and just applying it across the board to all of our initiatives
Yeah.
is essentially what I'm hearing.
No, you're dead on. And that's the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
Because they're wanting to show you that money so you can spend more.
Oh,
It's
absolutely. Yeah.
brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. But look at trade shows, for example. I look at you kind of online things and offline things.
Mhm.
Those are harder to judge. So you've got to have a good strategy going in, because it's in an offline world, right? But you've got to have the good data reporting to get it back in, so you can understand, so you can work that, just like, it's a great analogy, Dan. So you
Yeah.
can work that just like pay per click, or you can work
Mhm.
that spend and just turn it up or turn it down.
Yeah.
And hey, when something's not working, just kill it. Walk away from it. I've seen people just try to double down and try to force something to work, and my goodness, maybe come back to it later, reevaluate it, but shut it down, keep that money in it, keep that money investing well.
What was it? The definition of insanity is trying the same thing multiple times and expecting different results.
That's what we do sometimes.
So, all right, we're only have a few minutes left, and I know we want to try to leave it open in case anybody has any questions. But you know, Todd, I think you've given us some really great nuggets here, and I think finding those 4 things would probably be a great thing for all of our viewers today to really go down. But keeping that in mind, I'm not trying to lead the witness on the question here. But as we think about some of the folks we have on here who maybe don't have as mature systems as you do, maybe don't have kind of the experience in building this, dial driven marketing center, what's some of the key takeaways or some of the key pieces of advice that you give them to help them move from more of a reactive gut feel decision making environment to one that really is more data driven and proactive by design?
Yeah. The nature of marketing is everybody expects us to do everything today.
Mhm.
So start with an end point in mind. Take a breath and look at things. Where do you want to be 18 months from now? I always ask, the team when we're building things, is this an 18 or 24 month plan, not programs. I'm talking about the foundational elements, because I don't want to go back and rebuild, right? And all this thing is additive, because we're only adding more channels, we're only adding more technology things on top. So you've got to understand where you want to be, but then align, do an audit of your current metrics. Are you, back to our conversation earlier, are you focusing on vanity metrics? Are you talking about investment metrics or outcome metrics that you can really prove your value? And once again, maybe, prove your case and go back in and say, hey, I need more budget. And it's not a big debate. Show me how you're going to spend it. Show me the results, and we'll give you more. Boy, people love money machines like that. So audit, get your metrics aligned. Look for patterns in your customer journey. I mean, back to those, understand that customer journey.
Mhm.
Because you've got to align back what we were talking about to your forecast. You've got to know what budget, when to create it, and what investment's going to drive that, and how to get in front of it. But make sure all your stuff's integrated. A lot of people still, it's amazing to me, you still run a lot of things in silos,
Mhm.
and they're trying through uh, spreadsheets and other things, and just pouring over data over the weekend to try to see the patterns. There's a lot of tools out there. Some of as these tools become more mature, uh,
Mhm.
their integration capabilities are fantastic. But
Mhm.
hey, AI, I do a lot of reporting through AI right
Yeah.
now, and it's great. AI is great at understanding patterns, and the more you can feed it and train it, uh,
Mhm.
it's incredible. Focus on quality over quantity. Everything you do, if it's for, like I said, that Insight Partners
Mhm.
study they did, what 4 channels are you going to invest in? What are you going to, you don't need 100. You can't do everything.
Yeah.
Do something really great instead of doing it okay, and then move on to something else. So, quality over quantity, and just, once again, start the conversation with those singles and doubles, and get everybody aligned with that. And just use that data to drive credibility and increase your investment. I mean, that's truly what the company is doing with marketing, right? That's an investment. Treat it like a portfolio, treat it like an investment banker, and show them that show that return on investment, and bring them more value.
Well, and I think you summed it up really well with what you said earlier too, Todd, which is leadership comes to you and says, "Hey, we uncovered $100,000. I mean, what can you do with that?" You don't just want to throw that against the wall and see what sticks. I mean, you want to have your solid go tos that are going to deliver some sort of value for the organization. So maybe it's all comes back to understanding what those channels are and how to make it happen.
Yeah. And boy, when they ask that question, if you pause and aren't confident with it, you might not get that question asked again.
Hopefully, I'm still here, even though my camera decided to go a little kaputz today. All right.
We can hear you, Dan.
Well, that's good because we are live, and yeah, apparently not as but my camera is not. So, that being said, any questions from the folks in the audience? Anything coming through? If not, I do want to say that it has been a pleasure to have you both here. You can't see it because my camera has decided to not be kind to me today, but I will join my other camera. You guys have all been a great audience to have today. Want to thank you all for coming out here, and hopefully you'll join us in our next Arketi Live in 25, where we will remember people's names and have functioning cameras.
Dan, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Todd.